So we have a lineup in our game.
Yeah, this is a lot of good players. I think these three are actually the three competing for the top right now. Oh, no, not quite. Tubeck is up there. Regardless, a lot of strong players here in this particular round. Trappyvin, Pavlos, Hexapus, and Mr. X are your four competitors. We have got a warehouse colony going to be consuming glass. And once again, a lot of high prices. That's how I like to start my off-world matches, with a lot of high prices.
A lot of high prices.
And a lot of cliffs.
A lot of cliffs, so nothing that's like super easy to say, go found here, other than this God Nomad spot, straight to the south right of the colony, where you have aluminum and silicon right next to each other. So you put one Nomad HQ there, and then put another Nomad HQ over by maybe the water and carbon, and you're set.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking I'm founding that now, and Pavlos has spotted it. The question is, what is everybody else going to go for? Another Nomad? Can't argue with Trask's decision. Where does he put the second HQ? That is the question.
He apparently doesn't know. There it goes. Where did that thing land? So it's actually going to end up right next to what? Some water up there. It's also got carbon, and it's not too far from. I like that spot. Track took his time to hunt it down, but it's nice.
Alright, so if I'm Hexapus and I see three Nomads, I'm going to go for Steel Faction just so I'm something different.
Oh wow, that's an interesting choice though. Steel Faction, despite the $60 steel, he is going to begin the game producing
glass.
We'll see how that goes.
Hexapus is a one of our top 10-ish FFA players.
Yeah. Well, consistent performer.
Consistently performs. He definitely likes his interesting starts.
He does.
You know, so this is what we're going to see. This is not a start that I'd recommend new players pick up. Normally when you found a Steel Faction, you want to go into, steel. 2 steel mills, 3 if you're a scientist, buy aluminum off the market, upgrade to HQ 2 as fast as possible, then go into some more aluminum. There are other founds that you can do. Scientists have the most. You can start off with glass like this. You can start off with a farm scientist found. And they can
Which, to be fair, farms are going to be amazing when he upgrades. He's already got the go in second.
Yep, and there he goes into 2 farms.
Yeah, these are actually water pumps for the moment while he waits for cash to be able to make them into farms. He's also going to get some steel mills going, but I imagine he's taking his time so that he can eventually transition them into farms once he's got the steel and the glass that he needs. Farms are one of the more expensive basic buildings typically. They require both steel and glass. Can be a little bit awkward to get them online sometimes, but once they're going, they're making good money. You can see Pavlos also has decided he wants some farms this game. He's almost got a pair of them online.
Yep.
Got a lot of glass down. That's all fine. Lots of players gathering silicon. That silicon. That's going to probably be nice for Hexapus long term to keep glass down, but it does mean he'll need to rotate out of one of his money makers pretty early, unfortunately.
A nomadic HQ has been upgraded.
Upgrade to 3 out of Tratping Ven. Let's see, he's got a fair amount of aluminum coming in, got a little water ratio 2 from that high. It looks like he actually skipped the idea of making money early. Instead, he focused entirely on those base resources to accelerate himself up to 3 very quickly, and then is making use of that to now get into the money. But he has a nice tile advantage. Though Pavlos also up at 3.
Yeah, Pavlos got the strongest Nomad found, and got up to HQ3 first. We do have a geotherm that's going up for $32,000 right now. The power is creeping up high. 32 is on the higher end of what one might pay for this geotherm, but look at its positioning. Long term. It's right next to the colony. It's right next to the warehouses, which give those launchage agencies. So you could go for the geothermal borehole patent, and then you could swap your geotherm and place an off-world on top of that, and the off-world will actually make power for you instead of consuming power. So I like this long-term thinking from a Trat.
Yeah, on
And
top
Pablo
of that, there are no
says-
private claims available. And so an extra claim is a really nice pickup right now.
Pablo says, I really like that idea too. I'm glad that you made me aware of it. I'm going to claim the geotherm on the other side. And maybe do the same thing.
Certainly. Nice power surge coming in. Let's see. I do believe yes, it was Hexapus who went ahead and used that power surge. He's going to shut down Pavlos' farms. A nice move from Hexapus. He's running a little bit behind right now, so you might think, he doesn't want to spend money on the black market, but if you don't use the black market to slow down the leader, you're just going to continue to fall further and further behind. It's important to go ahead and be aggressive against them. You can go after them. Everybody else can go after them. Eventually, you will find your moment to go ahead and catch up. So it's good aggressive moves out of Hexapus so far this game.
Yeah. Using the black market early is one of those things that separates a medium player from a good player. A medium player will start using the black market in the mid game. A good player will know when and how to upgrade. Use a black market in the early game, because you kind of need to balance, your upgrades versus slowing down somebody else's upgrades. And in an FFA, it's a little bit harder to do. In a 1v1, if you slow the other person down, it's a win for you no matter what. Zero-sum game.
Yep, certainly is. Circuit Overload already coming out this game. It is going to be stopped by a Circuit Overload. A bit of a different item. We actually see a power surge up above it, stopped in a very similar fashion. This is the high-level placement of the Goon Squad. So the Circuit Overload shuts down power production of any building that it hits, and it also doubles power consumption of buildings that it hits. So the attempt here was to use a Circuit Overload from Hexapus onto Mr. X and shut down his line of wind turbines. But Mr. X, he saw this coming, both power surges and Circuit Overloads available. He positioned a Goon Squad in the middle of his line so that if a Circuit Overload was to hit on either end, it would only shut down 1/3 of his power production. Very similarly, Hexapus hit in the same way. He actually has a fake power line, but he defended it all the same. That's a very convincing, in some ways, wind turbine that he has actually got positioned as a patent lab going after teleportation right now.
Decently convincing. It's not next to a cliff, which is where they get the most money, but that's the only place you can put it. Going immediately for teleportation, we saw this in our last game, a scientist that was lagging behind, moving into teleportation, and then using that to be able to pull back in the lead. One thing that new players do is they overvalue teleportation. Like, if you're not a scientist and you don't have, split production or whatever. So it is possible to go for teleportation too early when you should be picking up something else that'll actually give you a better advantage, maybe like carbon scrubbing or nanotech, depending on the prices on the market, which both of those would be good pickups. Steel's expensive, carbon's expensive.
Yeah. It can be the right move to go after something else, but I think I like teleportation. Game.
Hexapus, yes.
Only has 3 tiles. Yeah, he only has 3 tiles next to his base. There's resources all over this map, and teleportation is going to give him the access that he needs to them, even with these reactors so very far away. Now, it's still going to be difficult for him to rotate these buildings, as we often discuss being important. He's going to be pretty stuck with the composition that he has, but far better to be stuck with a pretty good composition than to not be able to put down buildings at all. And that's definitely a position that he was risking with his late found as a scientist right here.
Yeah, well, the fact that Hexapus has a patent lab up means everyone else is moving into patent labs of their own. Mr. X going for thinking machines, Trap going for nanotech, and now Hexapus going for carbon scrubbing. Pablo's sitting with a lot of cash right now, and remember last game we saw that letting a scientist with teleportation and lots of patents survive through the end game was a bad idea. We're going to see if Pablo's decides to get aggressive here. Hexapus does have enough to defend himself, and it's going to start doing so, but
he's going to start. I think in order to finish it, though, he would have to cancel.
Yeah, so Pavlos is going to go for it.
Yeah. This is very close for Hexapus. I think that Pavlos waited too long. He was indecisive. And Hexapus does manage to get the defense, but he did cancel nanotech to make that happen. So this has been pretty costly for Hexapus. Pavlos can simply cancel out of this aggression and move on up to HQ5, and he's done a good job of slowing Pavlos down even more. All right, Hacker Array auction coming out. That's not a great position for a Hacker Array. It's next to a ton of warehouses, but it is a great position for an off-world market later on this game. There's no dynamite, only mutinies available, and mutinies are starting to get expensive, as are power surges already. These players have been very aggressive, and all of this early game aggression means that off-worlds are a little bit better in the late game because there are going to be fewer tools to attack them with. Those will have been used up already.
Not to mention the off-world prices are starting to look pretty good at Sol 4. 470 on Oxygen, 33k profit launches. This is going to be an off-world game despite the potential for higher prices on-world due to the odd landscape. No, 3 nomads, they don't have too much trouble shipping.
Yeah, they're going to be in a pretty good spot. I do really like going for the off-world market this game. I think you're right. Like, the prices are good at this point already. They're only going to get better over time. That's going to be very nice. And Trat should be set up in a pretty good spot to make use of that. Let's see. Trat has actually also already spied out that hacker array. So if Pavlos makes use of it as a hacker array, Trat is going to know what's going on. The hacker array comes with a hologram on it automatically. So it's sometimes difficult to know that it's there, but obviously if it was auctioned off, you can be pretty sure there's a hacker array in that location. And if Pavlos chooses to swap it into something like an off-world market to make use of these warehouse bonuses, Trat will know about that as well, and he'll know that he'll need to get aggressive against that tile at that point.
A nomadic HQ has been upgraded.
Let's see, I'm trying to catch up on where we're at. Trat has been struggling to make money compared to Pavlos in terms of the raw cash on hand right now, but some of that is going to be the pickup of virtual reality and nanotech by Trat, and in fact he's also using an optimization center right now.
Yep.
Patent Lab is not active. Just starts on carbon scrubbing. So let's see. He's picked up 3 optimizations and 2 patents. Meanwhile, Pavlos, I believe, has none of those things.
Yeah, Pavlos just lost the race to slant drilling to Mr. X.
And he's going to lose this race to Trat for carbon scrubbing unless something screwy happens here. So that's where Pavlos' cash is coming from. He's building up this cash lead, but Trat is picking up those late game tools that he's going to need to really power through in the end. So this is, even though things look good for Pavlos right now, I am concerned about him long term.
I'm not sure how
the question is, can Pavlos get an off-world up earlier that nobody notices or something like that? It is 100k. That is kind of expensive to go for an early off-world, but he almost has it. So I think he almost needs to do that. And the fact that he's going into electronics factories and glass kilns suggests that a early off-world play is what we're going to see from Pavlos. So the question is, 14k holograms, can he hide it somewhere that nobody's not looking at?
Yeah, those holograms have already started getting a bit expensive.
Can he purchase Mr. X?
That is a different option that's available to him. And in fact, everybody is going to jump in on this. They're like, oh, you made a mistake. Mr. X does not have the cash on hand to defend himself, but somebody, looks like it's going to be Trat Ping Bin, picks up that last share, knocks Mr. X right out of the game. And I think everybody is likely going to race to pick up these last little bits. It's a knock out of Mr. X. Usually that's a nice beneficial thing to do. Just pay a little bit of cash now, and that's going to feed you money for the rest of the game as well as boosting your stock price. So it ends up being a 4-2-4 split. That's about how you would expect it to be. Pavlos and Trat Ping Bin both in the lead. Hexapus just picking up what he can.
Yeah, Hexapus still lagging a little bit behind here on HQ4. Not too bad, simply because you expect nomads to upgrade faster than scientists, and Hexapus is going for, as many patents as possible. But I would like to see.
But still, not a great spot to be in. C debt. Your opponents are up at 5. You're still down at 4. They've got a lot of cash, and on top of that, Trat does have a couple of patents himself, so
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little bit nervous for Hexapus at this point.
Finally going into geothermal borehole, so maybe thinking about that, swapping out that geotherm for an Offworld. Later, gets a 20% launch bonus by being next to 2 warehouse modules at the colony. Everyone will know that it's happening, though, if they're paying attention. Power's on its way back
that's
up.
all about it.
Overloads on power, and everybody in C debt. The Hexapus with that superconductor making $1,000 per second
Change our passwords.
on power.
Yeah,
mining.
those solar panels are really doing some work right now. Hexapus also actually got aggressive against Mr. X's power, which I thought was an interesting decision. Basically thinking, that's going to feed into everybody else more than it's going to feed into me. I'd like to try and pay down my debt as much as I can, so I'm going to go ahead and make this happen. But you can tell Hexapus is really just struggling to make money, still hasn't made it up to 5, and Trat Pingbin does put down the first Offworld of the game under the hologram that has been concealing his patent lab for a very long time.
Yeah, we can check a look at the Offworld market. $37,000, $35,000 launches. It's going to cost Trat just under 100K to put that Offworld up would be the total price. So 3 launches to pay itself off. There are spies, 6K spies, so if somebody's paying attention, there's a lot of bases to look at. Might throw a spy over at that suspicious elemental quarry that's constructing over there.
Yes, certainly can be a nice move. I want to point out Hexapus has actually started to try and get carbon market. He did manage to pick up carbon scrubbing with his scientific bonus to research speed. And that maybe that's an area that he can find to do some good this game, but unfortunately, Mr. X has 4 carbon tiles right next to his base right now, and that subsidiary will continue to sell that carbon down and suppress that price as much as it possibly can, because that's just how subsidiaries are programmed to behave.
Yeah, Hexapus is hacking iron though. Nobody is in iron, I don't think. Pavlos moving into a off-world market of their own, also hidden by the base. Both players are waiting to maybe... No, sorry, Trat's the only one who can swap out their geotherm, but waiting for the black market to get more expensive. Still reasonably cheap, 14K power surges.
Yeah, and Trat actually recently used a mutiny on this geotherm that he has a spy on, of Pavlos's. So there's kind of been this effort to increase the price of this black market, get some of it collected for yourself. That way you can feel more comfortable getting an off-world down, and you can get aggressive if your opponents decide to behave the same way. So we'll see how that all plays out. Another mutiny onto an optimization center of Pavlos. That one courtesy of Hexapus.
Hexapus is finally HQ5, and Trat says, well, your stock's cheap, I'm going to buy it up.
Yeah, Pavlos with the correct counter move. He's going to try and start threatening Trat. He doesn't want Trat to be able to easily make this buy, but unfortunately Pavlos did not have the cash on hand right now. He was in the middle of transitioning into that off-world, and so he's only able to get 1 share purchased, and he himself is still very, very vulnerable if Trat can make this buy, which Trat's looking to be in a great position to do. He's already got half of the remainder that he needs to bring down Hexapus.
Yeah,
wow, he's actually going to sell out of his own stock. Yeah. That's an aggressive move. That's a dominant move right there. When you say, I bought up all my own stock, then I'm going to go ahead and just sell out of it because I'm not worried about you guys, and I just want to make these buys happen right now. That's how Trat Pingbin is thinking this game.
I mean, it will get him an additional $160,000 in cash, give or take. And that'll give him the 100%.
Yeah, he's going to sell out of that last little bit so he doesn't have to interrupt. Picks up Hexapus. And even though Pavlos has a distinct advantage when it comes to the stock that he owns in Trat's price is still just so high at this point that I doubt Pavlos will be able to overcome it, but we'll see how this last little bit plays out.
It's, both players need to spend $700,000 to buy the other one out before Trat made that first purchase in the Pavlos, so it's even. The problem that Pavlos is going to run into is Pavlos in D debt, Trat's in C, so Trat can continue to throw down, power surges and things like that, and Pavlos can't respond since the black market the mafia doesn't trust you to pay up when you're in too much debt, as it turns out.
True. Yeah. You can still bribe the local officials for extra claim, but that's about it at that point. So that'll tell you how that stands on Mars, as it turns out.
Pavlos did pay into C debt and then went right back into D debt with that 20% interest tick at C debt, and we can just see that Trat's pulling into the lead in terms of the buyout percentages.
Yeah, he's getting to be in a good spot. For
591 to finish it off. Pavlos needs 843 to finish it off. So this is looking like Trat's game to win, barring something unexpected.
Pavlos, it looks like trying to hunt down an off-world market if he can find it. Maybe that's where the edge lies if you land a strong mutiny against your opponent. Neither of them has thinking machines, so it would require a little bit of misplay on Trat's part, but Pavlos, he's going to try every single avenue he can.
Yeah, Mr. X, the subsidiary, has thinking machines. Unfortunately for Pavlos, Hexapus, this is why picking up scientists with teleportation is great, earning Trat $1,700 per second in dividend revenue.
What a payout!
Yeah, this is why Trat was willing to get so aggressive to take down. You're exactly right. Scientists often make fantastic money in the late game. They've got optimizations, they've got really strong patents, all of their tiles are very efficient, pulling resources directly out of the ground to power their buildings. So, just a fantastic pickup to grab. Hexapus already making far more money than Mr. X is at this point, despite the fact that Mr. X has been owned for so much longer. And that absolutely gives Trat Pingvin the final advantage that he needed to overcome Pavlos. And in just a few moments, he'll get a launch off, he'll sell off a few more resources, and he'll be taking down Pavlos to get his third win of the day. So this is a very strong game out of Trat today.
That should secure his final round.
Yes, it definitely will. He will have the lead for sure going into the final round because he was tied for the lead. So the worst position he can be in after this is once again tied for the lead, depending on how well Tootback does over in his round. But still, well played game out of everybody. Trat takes first, Pavlos takes second, Hexapus third, and Mr. X fourth. Mr. X is punished for having been subject to a majority buyout. We consider that to be a very bad thing for the player, and so he unfortunately does not pick up pretty much anything in the way of points and is stuck in place.